SML, the podcast, SML The Brodown, Field Zone 007, Primetime 000. We've got a pretty good show, I think, in store. I think I've got a couple good topics we're going to cover. Prime, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I'm fired up.
All right. You got any statements you want to start with? Anything you want to cover before we get down to the meat and taters?
Let's just get to the main course, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to rock.
All right. He's ready to feed on the stick. What's your favorite SML memory? If it maybe not necessarily just a game moment, but it could be some type of achievement for the league itself or whatever. But just looking back at it, is there anything that comes to mind as your favorite memory?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I know. Some bangers.
If I had more time to think about it, I could probably give a better answer. I think just as you look back on it, or at the time, you don't really think they're that big of a deal. But when you look back on it and you just see those little milestones, whether they're like the inception of a cool show like First and Goal, or we kind of got our stuff together and actually commentating Super Bowls, stuff like that, and actually doing it well. I think those are pretty cool. But in the moment, you're just so caught up in trying to make it flow right, you don't really get to enjoy it. So I think just little milestones like that. Now, obviously, game wise, any Super Bowl, probably the crowning achievement for me was just beating Sunday in the Super Bowl. Last cycle, that was it for me. After that, it's all been gravy.
Not necessarily the governor or even W.L. Jones back in the day. None of those are up there with the.
No, because I like the governor. He always played me well in the regular season, but it felt like true redemption when I got screwed in the Super Bowl, in my opinion, anyway. And when I was able to overcome that and win a Super Bowl, it felt like it all came together. And I don't know. I don't know if another Super Bowl will ever feel like that.
So if you look at your favorite, then let's just flip the script and talk about your least favorite. What's something that maybe sticks out in your mind right now is something that you're glad that you're past that, or that the league's past that?
Probably just early on, just the early days. Yeah, I don't have a specific moment, but I've told the story a few times, but I remember just how bad chat was. And I remember I added a guy named Piggy, and Piggy just, he just nuked the chat, just took everybody out of chat, deleted them out. This was before Gort, and I think you could set guys as admins and stuff in chat.
Right.
So he deleted everybody and changed the SML logo to a pig. That was pretty bad. Or just in general, just how bad chat was. I mean, we take it for granted probably, but I mean, inactive, nobody's inactive for a day and everybody's in chat getting along. When you're that active and you're still not having arguments every day, I mean, that's a pretty good crowning achievement for sure.
So I don't know what my favorite would be outside the fact that the first time maybe that we hit all 32 teams, because that was kind of, when I told the guys from SGC that we were launching a league, pretty much the consensus was, good luck. And, we got to the point where we started it, and I saw, also something else kind of sticks out was the fact that, I kind of got us rolling on YouTube and Twitter and that, and kind of the stuff that I was setting us towards because I liked what NBL was doing, and I wanted to kind of mimic or copy what they were doing. So it was kind of neat getting him to come on at one of the early podcasts for an interview, just kind of get some insight of what they were doing. That's honestly one of my favorite interviews to do. Least favorite. I don't know. I don't think there's really, outside of like El Chizio, just from the stupid stuff that he would say, just guys like that have come and gone that were just, obviously toxic and just shit stirrers and really added no value to the league. Probably that just overall just toxic negative players would probably be my least favorite thing. Nothing else, like the losses are it is what it is. Who's the best passer in the SML right now?
Oh Lord!
Well, did you see the picture I posted in chat like right before we started recording this?
Yeah, of all the interceptions.
So that tells you who's not the best passer. All right.
Yeah, that's what's
kind of got me thinking about that. You're looking at Mahomes has got 54 interceptions. I know Spooky didn't play the whole season. So I'm assuming he probably started with 20 or 30 of those.
Yeah.
But that's still a lot. And Joe Burrow 46, Jordan Love 45. I don't know who Bradford is, whose quarterback that is.
Yeah.
Oh, the
I don't
Eagles.
know. Um,
Clink.
my, there's a lot of good passers. I don't know if there's truly is a best, especially with abilities and receiver abilities. It's sometimes that stuff kind of skews how good a guy really is or isn't. Um, a lot of the passing game is the same now, to where it's not like anybody's doing much different. Um, I don't know. I mean, top three probably Faz. He's up there. Dan's up there. I can still throw it when I want to. Other than that, there's nobody. There's no true elite passer, I would say. And Faz, he's got what's that gunslinger? That ability is ridiculous. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
throws he can make with that. It's definitely interesting. But on the flip side, I mean, you have some very mediocre passers,
Yeah.
like 46 interceptions in the season, and some guys are well on pace for over 50. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happens.
I think that, honestly, right now, and I can say this because you got the stats to back it up, is I think right now the best passer for this season and where we're at with the game has to be Demuse. I mean, look at it, the yards aren't there, but 37 touchdowns to 6 interceptions is a pretty
Yeah,
good 148.8 passer rating. I mean, obviously, he's
yeah,
taking care of the ball. I posted that article, I think it was yesterday, and I think just from playing him, he's real patient and he doesn't give you a whole lot of opportunities to intercept him. But obviously, he hasn't won big games, so I don't think that he's really the sexy pick, and the NFC South sucks. So I think a lot of that kind of overshadows what he's been doing. But right now, I think I'd have to pick him as the standalone best, not taking away from anyone else's abilities to move the ball through the air and just be good at reading defense. But obviously, I just think that his stats speak for itself.
yeah. He's got a almost 150 quarterback, almost a perfect quarterback rating this year. Not really talked about too much, but has a very strong record.
Yeah,
Going to be interesting to see if he can kind of get over the hump this year against Faz or RD. Faz apparently is mentally checked out now after he
oof.
lost only his second game of the season. Interesting take, but such is life, I guess.
What do you think about that? Do you think that's just kind of a
uh,
deflection? Is he over exaggerating just to be funny, or do you think that he's
mm-mm.
just kind of setting that as an excuse? That way, if he gets a first round bounce, that oh yeah, I already checked out.
Yeah, that's kind of. I think that's the whole thing with Faz, and Dan's mentioned. I guess Dan kind of goes way back with them. That the big knock on Faz has always been kind of maybe not the toughest mentally. If things start going bad, he might not be able to bounce back from it. We joked about the little flaccid Faz thing, but you're 12-2 and you're 2 games before the playoffs, and then you're upset and saying, "Oh man, like I've got a new mentality. I'm mad now." Just because you got beat in one game, come on,
Sure.
like that just seems a little soft to me. Like if he was that soft, I would talk to Faz instead of using Charmin. If after I went to the bathroom, that's too soft for me.
A little too soft, huh? Uh,
Mhm.
who's the best rusher right now?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh man, that's a great question. Off the top of my head, when I play Bomber, Bomber was a very average runner
Mm-hmm.
when he had just average running backs, and he's gotten Hendricks, and he's good with Hendricks. Um, I don't know if he's the best though. Once again, it's just kind of like if you have an elite running back,
Right.
you're just
Well,
kind of
that
great.
that's your story. Like you've gotten Taylor developed, and now you got 26 touchdowns on the ground. You're force feeding the guy that's got the abilities, and when you're at your best is when Taylor's in the zone, Taylor's healthy, and you're eating yards on the ground. And when you don't get those rushing yards, you're not as good. Um, you're trying to play within the confines of the game, and I think honestly for me, just one play in particular will show you who the best rusher is in that Super Bowl against you was Faz. The comeback around the stop and go and all of those moves that he's perfected is not just because of Dalvin Cook. I mean, the dude obviously has mad stick skills to make some of the moves he does. I mean, he's got 1,500 yards right now and 28 touchdowns, which in real life I believe that'd be an NFL record
Yeah,
with games to go.
he's definitely a good runner. I would almost kind of go with Matt just because Matt's done quite a bit without like a Jonathan Taylor type or a Dalvin Cook type. I think his running back's name is Lance Camp. He's only got 91 speed. I don't think his abilities are good at all. He doesn't have jukebox or anything crazy on his running back. Cook, obviously great player. He's averaging 9 yards a pop. But considering what Matt has, and Matt being a subpar passer, and people dialing in on the run against Matt, and he still gets those yards. Whereas Faz is a great passer, and so people can kind of key in on the pass as well. It's easier. It's probably easier for Faz to run. I don't know. I mean, they're both great players, obviously.
Who do you think's the best user on defense right now? Back in the
Uh,
day, I mean, it'd have to be you and Oshie. Now that the linebacker lurks out of it, I'm not to say that you're not the best anymore, but it definitely takes you down a couple notches because you're not getting the turnovers, which in turn is kind of part of your story this cycle, I believe, is you're not able to get those game changing turnovers that you would before. You know, when you need it in a pinch, you would be able to bait a guy and intercept those passes, and you just not just yourself, but there's a lot of guys out there that I just don't think are as good on defense just because you can't make those game changing plays. Also, the pass rush, thank God, was nerfed this year.
yeah, yeah. They nerfed the how much field you can cover with your linebacker or safety,
Mm-hmm.
which is partially it tightens the skill gap a little bit because the guys who were really good at that, like really were good at that, and that was like a big bonus. So, but in the same token, there's two Colts in the top five in the league in interceptions, and one of them is really preliminary. My main user guy, Bobby McCain. He's got 10 interceptions on the season. So I think my name's up there. For guys who I actually play, um, uh, I don't know. Dan's isn't bad. Bombers isn't bad. It's just hard. Like the way the game is now. You just don't play anybody who's got a great user. And I'd be curious if I played Oshi this cycle, which I haven't obviously, but I'd bet that his user wouldn't be that great either. I mean, Madden's changed and it's taken away some kind of key aspects. Like 5, 10 years ago, guys would like make a living on user picks and changing the game by practicing that and anticipating routes. Now you just kind of have to be kind of in the right place at the right time. Like, because if you have a jump on it, you still might not even get there, which I guess is realistic, but from a video game aspect, it's kind of something that's taken away. But in the principle of realism, I'm for it. I guess I'm for it.
You're kind of down this year. I'm looking at the list right now in terms of like your defensive yards per game. You're like 20th for passing
Mhm.
yards, or actually you're 25th with passing yards allowed a game. Your total yards per game, you were like 20th. What's going on with your defense right now? Did you lose some guys that you had with all the X factors and stars, or
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because there was like 2 or 3 seasons ago, I actually did have a really solid defense.
yeah,
I had J.J. Watt, but like other than J.J. Watt, who I lost, and and um, and now I just lost my other defensive end last year. But other than those two guys, like there was a bunch of stars, and half of them like don't mean anything. And like for example, Griffin, the one arm guy, like
yeah, yeah.
his ability is like strip specialist, and he hasn't caused a fumble maybe ever. And like Darius Leonard, like one of his abilities is strip specialist. That doesn't do anything. And my defensive end, who's a superstar, he's a 74 overall pass rusher, and his only ability is under pressure. And I'm not sure if that's ever done anything. And so you go down the list and actually look at the abilities. You have to
Mm-hmm.
look at what the abilities are. Now that said, it's kind of the way Madden is this year. It's a bend but don't break. I'm seventh in the league in points allowed. What am I, 13-2 or 12-2 or something, number one seed in the AFC. This is probably the best regular season I've had since I don't know, the season I won the Super Bowl probably. So I'm playing all right. Obviously I just recently lost a Coop, but I control my own destiny, and I think that I'm probably like I said, I think I predicted this halfway through the cycle. I was going to make a late cycle run, and for me to go back to back Super Bowl appearances and to possibly be the number one seed in the AFC, I'm kind of where I want to be.
So a couple things I want to cover real quick. I was looking at just basically going off the stats again. Your sacks are you're number 3 in the league right now, 26, behind
Yeah, I have no
the
clue how.
Chargers and the Giants. And then I was looking at interceptions. I think you're third.
Mhm.
Your total with 33. You're behind the Browns, and then Bomber with the Jaguars has 37, and you got
Yeah.
33. So you're letting up yards. Your points per game, I didn't think I grabbed that yet. But another interesting thing about your sacks, who's your leading? Do you know who's got your lead for
I have.
sacks? It's
I have no. I don't.
DeForest Buckner,
Interesting. Yeah.
which is kind of
Okay.
interesting. That I mean, he's X Factor, but I was looking at his abilities. Run stuffer, El Toro.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing that's kind of crazy that he's leads in the like the closest next one is like 5 or 6 sacks. So it's just kind of crazy that the stats are that skewed.
Yeah, that is weird. I've never looked into that. I don't even know how I get sacked. I don't blitz often, and maybe it's just I get up in games and people are forced to drop back in
Right,
long
and then holding
yardage
on to it.
situations. Maybe that's what it is. I really don't know anything because I had a stacked defensive line the past 2 years, and I don't think I was top 3 in the league in sacks.
So for me to answer the question about, I answered the best passer, which I thought was the Seahawks. The best rusher I put for Faz, and then for best defender, I think I'll go with Bomber. He does some interesting. Dan's also pretty good at defense.
Yeah,
He's kind of got the Madden ebook down pretty well with the YouTube, and
yeah,
I think that Bomber does too. And Bomber do some interesting things with manning guys up, like on your running back, to do different cat and mouse games. I mean, those are some of your lowest scoring games when you play Bomber,
yeah. Bomber has
and
not only does he
his
have the
scout sheet
personnel.
is something else.
Yeah, he's got probably the best scout sheet. He's got the best. Like if you go look at his defensive personnel, I mean, his defensive personnel is stacked, and he makes amazing
Yeah,
defensive adjustments. Like
yeah,
his a lot of combo coverages, a lot of confusing coverages. So you can't just look at his defense pre snap
right.
and kind of know where you're going. You have to like read it during the play, which takes some getting used to. And then when you're watching and you look to the left and you see a 99 overall CJ Henderson,
Right.
and then a cornerback, and then a 92
Cortez
overall
Street
cornerback on the other, and then
is
and
99.
then you yeah, and then you look 99 overall free safety and an 89 overall strong
Josh
safety, and then
Allen, 95.
yeah,
Defensive end Miles Jack, 94.
yeah,
Hobbs,
and then
92.
all that defense, and then on offense he's got DJ Shark 96 overall and Hendricks,
Hendricks.
the 99 overall running back. It's like that team is stat. Bomber, great player, obviously
Yeah,
great player, but that's a tough team to beat, especially when he scouts the way he does.
right.
So I would say outside of Bomber, Coop actually plays a wild defense. His defense is stacked as well. Um, other than that, Paulie's got a good defense because
Yeah,
Paulie kind of preps, and that defense isn't as talented as
right.
Bomber or Dan. So
No,
I'm
Paulie
impressed by
does a good job
Paulie.
of mixing stuff up, offensively and defensively. He's got
Yeah,
the football mind that Radar,
yeah,
talks about. And
he does. That's why Paulie hasn't won a championship because he
he's playing
strictly
too much
goes off
football,
of he plays too much football.
not the video game. All right, so I think we beat those topics to death at this point.
Uh-huh.
Going into Madden 22, if you could add, I know it's I guess it's kind of difficult, but because you haven't seen the ratings yet, but in real life who's good and who's not, and you can kind of assume who's
Yeah.
going to be good and who's not. If you could add one player to your team for Madden 22, who would you add?
We're talking current NFL players. Um,
Right.
that's a good question. Probably probably just I don't even know who's like a great pass rusher anymore. Like, I guess I don't watch football enough. Who's just a great pass rusher in today's
One of the
NFL?
Bosa boys.
Yeah, maybe the Chargers Bosa boy, Nick, or who's that? Is that Joey Bosa? I'd add Joey or maybe a cornerback, just an elite cornerback. That way I don't have to worry about it on the back end.
I'd pick Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek, that was one of my thoughts as well.
I'd take Tyreek, dude. Tyreek or
Actually,
Zeke.
I take that back. I take Mahomes.
Yeah.
That's because he's just stupid. He's got escape artist. He's got he's a creative
He's got
player.
the cannon and mobility and all that. All right, so
I
I
mean,
think
yeah,
there's
that'd be
just so
great.
many players that you could just pick and choose and be kind of neat, but we're Sims, so we don't do the fantasy shit.
Yeah,
Let's
it'd be
talk.
fun for a week.
Let's talk another kind of a fantasy. It wasn't really a thing back then, I don't think, or if it was, we weren't doing it. How would you fare in CFM if you had the Madden '06 Colts?
Ooh, Yeah, I'd probably be pretty dangerous. I think that'd be fun to have like the
How would that
classic
be, huh?
roster.
90, you turn that damn QB vision on with Peyton. You
Yeah,
got the whole field. You ain't got to turn nothing down there. You just be
yeah.
checking down Dallas Clark on the corner threat, and he was 90
Oh,
something. Marvin Harrison, Reggie.
that'd be
I
fun.
think
It'd
Stokely
be
was
a lot
there.
easier. I wouldn't have a problem playing against Cortez Street every other game. That
Yeah,
wouldn't. I don't think I'd have an issue with that. But no, those were the glory days. Obviously, I think it'd be fun to play like in some like Legends League, just for like
right.
kind of recreational, like not as serious as the SML. And maybe one day I'll do something, but I think I have the attention span of a goldfish, so I don't know how long I could last doing that.
The Colts offense was 99 overall. The defense was 69 overall. The team
They
overall
had
was 90.
The thing is, like that team would be pretty strong though for this Madden because
Oh
you have
yeah,
the offensive weapons and then they have the defensive pieces in the right place. Like linebackers in this Madden don't matter at all. Like if you have a strong linebacker, unless if they can hit stick and have good speed and change of direction. So 95% of linebackers didn't matter. The Colts linebackers were subpar. Gary Brackett was okay, but
right.
whatever.
Dwight Freeney, Robert
But
Mathis.
yeah, you had the pass rushers there. You had the hard hitting safety because Sanders and I mean they were the ideal Madden team for this Madden, but unfortunately timing was not on the SML side or my side for SML victories apparently.
No, I mean they were stacked, dude. You start looking at it really, and you think the offensive line was there too because they had Tark Glenn.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you had Adrian James. He
they
was
were good.
96 overall. Jeff Saturday 91. The corners weren't horrible. Nick Harper and Jason David. Uh,
Yeah,
Man, that would have been fun. I mean, of course you had Mike Vanderchoke, but he was 95
yeah,
overall in that
yeah.
game.
You had everything. You had
He
everything.
literally had everything, dude. And Peyton Manning, huh?
Yeah, it would have been fun. It would have been fun to win a few championships with that roster. Maybe I'll open up a Legends League in between cycles or something for fun.
Would it be the biggest surprise, do you think, in the upcoming team selection?
I think that Bomber kind of holds the keys to really to the whole draft. I think that I think a lot of people expect him to take Chicago. They got Justin Fields, that's his boy. If he goes and takes a different team,
Mm-hmm.
I think the draft gets shifted upside down. That could get interesting. I think Woods is an interesting guy. Whether he takes Jacksonville or
Right.
if he doesn't take Jacksonville, then all of a sudden you're looking at who takes the Jaguars, who are a good team. They got the quarterback there. There's some. I'd say those two kind of hold the key to the draft. We kind of know where I'm going. We know where Meats will probably end up going. But Bomber can kind of shake the draft upside down with that second pick.
If I had the Chiefs, I know I wouldn't throw 54 interceptions.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta say. Whoever gets
it's
the
pretty.
Chiefs this time should not fuck it up. And if they don't win a Super Bowl, that's like the most damning thing that can happen. If there are two cycles with the Chiefs being pretty much fucking loaded and people have failed.
It's pretty nice to like I don't know. You have to really try hard to throw 50 interceptions in a season. Like that's a special kind of effort to do that.
You gotta literally be Stevie Wonder. You have to be blind and just clicking buttons. And I don't.
I remember ZZ set himself up to fail because we would scrimmage
Mm,
and it'd be like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm playing and I'm just testing stuff out. And then ZZ would have Mahomes' X Factor lit up. And then all of a sudden he would come through my headphones real loud, and be like, bazooka! And then he just air it out like 90 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill and just get a touchdown. And then like translate to the SML and people would like play off,
right.
10, and then he would just throw interceptions.
Right.
And, it's like,
I've said it
it's
the
just kind
whole
of
time
funny.
ever since they've introduced the abilities. Like some guys completely threw out playing Madden, and
Yeah.
their version of playing Madden is just using the abilities, which that's part of it, and that obviously is a big part of helping you win better games. Like you got the running back with the abilities. You're playing within that. You're the one that's in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, not me. Uh, but I think sometimes like it's taken away from a lot of guys too. Even yourself, I talked about it. I think it's kind of debilitated your offense to an extent, and some guys really have handicapped themselves by using those abilities as like just the crutch. Like that's the only way that they have an offense is like you said, ZZ with the bazooka and
Yeah.
just trying to throw it up top over to Tyreek every play. Because I remember I played him early on. I mean, I had a shit ton of interceptions against him, and I think the same thing last cycle when he was the Saints. Man, he would just fix on certain players and just air that bitch out, and then
Yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't always work out.
it's interesting for sure. I mean, the way that Madden is, when you start playing guys who kind of, for me, it was kind of a perfect storm this cycle. I think of okay, running the balls effective. Obviously, I don't have Andrew Luck anymore, so for the first 4 seasons, I don't have a good quarterback. And then when I do, I can't really move around like I used to with Andrew Luck, so that's an adjustment. And then obviously, when people study and make adjustments, that's tough. But like you said, it's just something like if you want to win, you just have to adjust to the game. And I think sometimes people are a little too stubborn with that. And I think me and Dan talked about it.
Yeah,
Like if you get stubborn and you're not willing to change or adapt, then you're gonna get left in the dust.
yeah, that's part of my problem though. Is just I don't really have the time to go in and go into the skills trainer and gauntlet to master the run sticks and all that. Like I I'm pretty good. I mean, I've gotten better because there were seasons I was only rushing for like 500 yards, and now I think the last two I've been 1,000. But it's still not like, oh shit, Fields gonna run the ball. Oh no, we gotta figure out how to stop the run. Like it's
Yeah.
coming, but I don't know. It's difficult if you don't put the reps in to master like that stop and go or any of those fancy. Um, I don't even know how the people time up the juke sometimes. Like I try to juke and get tackled. This guy fucking jukes me out of my socks. So
Yeah.
it's
It's tough.
it's
It's
hard.
tough to compete. It's tough to compete against like Dan. I think a few weeks ago or months ago, I compared our hours, and I was at 180 hours in the game, and he was at 800 hours, and I was like, man, like how can I
Right.
compete with how can you compete with? And that's part of the beauty of being in a league and just kind of I guess a league like the SML when you have parameter or rules set to where
Mm-hmm.
people can't do certain things and I mean that's tough. I mean I could only imagine. I guess you or me or maybe somebody like Dump just Dump loads it up as well. Like I think we're all the same. You just kind of push a button and get on. Like if I had 800 hours in the game, I
Man, I
don't
feel like
know.
I'd be a lot better if I would have put about 800 hours in the game. And
Think
he sounded
about
like
that
he's
for a
fit
second.
their sixth playbook on this cycle. He
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
which is kind of
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's some serious dedication for sure. And I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying like for the people who are losing and sometimes they lose to a great player.
Right.
You got to kind of weigh that as well. Like, okay, I lost, but what do I have into it?
Sure.
And that's not true forever. I mean, for example, I'm in the bottom five of the league for
Game
hours,
hours.
and somehow I'm in the top three of the league in terms of win loss record. But so it is still talent based. It's not all repetition, but it is interesting. It's just something. It's something to
Well, go
note for
back
sure.
though, if not maybe the last two or three Maddens, but go back when you were in high school or just getting out of high school. You used to play damn near 500 or 1,000 games just in the lobby matches every year. I mean, that was your
I,
thing when it first came out. You'd be out there playing and playing, and you leveled up the leaderboard several times. So your defense went from when you and I first started playing. Our defense is what user in the pass rush, and
yeah.
you were the first between me and you. You were the first one that hopped back, and I was like, "Oh shit, you're using the linebacker!" And like that's not good, dude. That's a big gamble, bud. I don't think you should be doing
Yeah.
that. And obviously that kind of transcended you, and I was kind of stubborn, sticking with the pattern. Like I can't fucking time that stuff up. I'm going to be giving up big plays, and that's why you got ahead of me, just because you've been doing the user on defense for probably two or three cycles more than what I
Yeah.
did. So
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff you've already made the leaps that a lot of guys don't because you put the time in before. And fundamentally, defense has been the same. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of they added a couple little gizmos, or they put some makeup on a fat pig to make her pretty.
Yeah.
Offense is pretty much fundamentally the same, except once again they found that ugly girl. They put some makeup on her, gave her a dress, and now it looks different on the outside, but really it's not. They've changed like the stick. They changed if you hold the coach cam, how you could see the speed match. Oh, you could see the X Factor shit on this one, but really it's the same thing, except you've kind of refined your offense instead of being 90% pass and 95% rolling out to pass. It's been running the ball and play action passing. Even then, like you've cut out a lot of the old plays that were staples of the offense that you just
Yeah.
simply don't run anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But like you said, the game is the same. So when you play 170 hours a
Right.
cycle like I do, I can kind of get away with it,
Yeah.
in the sense because it's the same game. But if I did have 1,000 hours, I could only imagine how much damage damage
Yeah.
I could do. It's
Sure.
it's fun.
You'd be right there with Bomber and Dan in terms of like knowledge of the game. I think your stick work would be much better. Like you'd be doing all the stupid weird
Yeah,
rushing moves that you can do in the game, which you don't really do a whole lot of that. You're just kind
yeah,
of picking the hole and letting JT carry you. Otherwise, I think you would probably be just 1,000, 1,300 yard rusher with a, in the teens for touchdowns. I don't think you'd be a 30 tutty runner. But I think you'd be much better than that. I think your defense would be a lot better because you'd be doing the combo coverage, or you would know exactly what defense is hot and which defense isn't this year. And I think you would go more to a creative playbook on offense and have a lot more of your repertoire. So when you play a guy like Bomber and Dan that know your plays, then you would have other stuff that you could already go to and know. Like Faz said last night, well, this is the first, and he ran, I think, on a shotgun doubles. It was halfback angle. You got a seam route to the tight end, and you got an angle
yeah,
route from the running back. Like everybody's run that play except for Faz,
yeah.
apparently. Um, so then you would have plays like that where you pull those plays out of your ass when you play Bomber because you're trying to keep him on his toes and you're not
Yeah,
really sure of the play yourself. So you're kind of getting,
yeah.
throwaways, interceptions, so on and so forth. Uh, I feel like you'd be a lot more rounded if you did put the time in, but simply the older you get,
You just
dependent
don't
on
care.
who you are, either A, you don't care, two, you just don't have the time to invest in it, or the time that you do have, you don't want to invest in
Yeah,
watching YouTube
yeah.
videos, playing lobby games, and reinventing yourself 5 times through a cycle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously during the game you want to win, but on a 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, like
Yeah, I'm
the
not
last thing
labbing.
I want to do, I'm not getting in the lab.
I'm not
Like
labbing.
I'm just
I've
not.
told
Like
myself I was gonna do it, but I just don't. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna watch TV.
yeah, if I can still be competitive and not do that, then I'm going to do that. And then honestly, if I at this point I've kind of I've won quite a bit, so I can look back on that and say, hey, look, like I won quite a bit without doing that. And that's not too shabby, At some point, I'm sure it'll all end, but up until now, this method has been pretty solid, and it still is because somehow I'm tied for the most. Somebodies this cycle, and I'm kind of the last 2 or 3 seasons somehow, despite all those hours, the best team in the AFC. So
Do you think if you kind of make the regression like I did, where I was in the Super Bowls, I won one, lost probably two or three, and then it was I'm a perennial playoff team, and then it's like I make the playoffs every once in a while, to now like I'm nowhere near the playoffs. Do you think if you regress like that it'll get to the point where you're mentally where I get, where you either A, you just get burnout, or you're gonna get burnout to the point where you don't want to play anymore,
I don't
or
know.
it's too hard
That's
to say?
that's too hard to say. You would like to think so. I mean, obviously, being the spot I'm in, I know it's like my obligation to power through any burnt outness I'm in. But it's kind of like that age old thing of like I was watching the Lakers play this year, and the Lakers lost to the Suns, and LeBron still obviously the best or one of the best, if not the best player in the league. But he's definitely not as athletic as he was
Right,
4 years ago, and that's no knock on LeBron. It's just
right.
it's just
Father
father
time
time,
and the
and
injury
and
this year.
yeah, yeah, and he's playing injured, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
it's
he's a
like,
bitch.
yeah, and I was thinking, I'm like, man, it's gonna be like weird seeing LeBron like as just a mediocre, like watching Kobe his final like 3 years. I'm like,
Yeah,
man, this is weird. This is just
right.
this
It's
is
like watching
weird
Peyton
watching
that last
Kobe.
season.
Yeah, that was ugly. That was bad. Like that was just bad. That's not Peyton, and we're gonna see it with Tom Brady too. It
Yeah,
eventually happens to everybody, but you know. With Madden, it's a little bit different because like you can play for however long you want. Football players are kind of like, all right, yeah, you suck now. Like
right.
you're forced out of the league. Like Madden, you can just be mediocre forever, and as long as you have a good attitude, like you'll have a spot somewhere. So it'll be weird. I think it'll be weird, and I haven't come quite to grips with that quite yet, though. So we'll see what happens.
We're at 35 minutes, but before I drop it, I had one last thing that just kind of came up. Did you read or watch any of the online CFM stuff or CFM stuff for Madden 22? Or
honestly.
do you got any thoughts about that stuff?
I haven't even watched it yet.
Okay.
Honestly, like I heard they came out with a podcast and a
Mm-hmm.
video, and I just maybe my interest in Madden is dwindling by the year or something.
Yeah.
I haven't clicked on it at all.
I
Have you?
remember I talked about this in chat. You know, when it was on Xbox 360 and I had my Xbox hacked, and I would go burn the games and do all that stuff. Like there's a level of euphoria or excitement that you get when you're a kid, you know, waiting on Christmas Eve for Santa to
Yeah,
come, and you can't sleep. And then when you get older, you're like, I don't even want to fucking get up at 8 o'clock to open
yeah,
stuff, you know. Um,
yeah,
and then with Madden, you know, you used to get all excited. You would be like, just the anticipation was, wow, it's the new Madden, it's the new Madden. You're watching all the
yeah,
trailers, you're waiting. I'm checking my websites to see if the game dropped
yeah,
early so we could start playing. You know, because we
yeah,
used to play a lot of offline franchise too. You know, we'd both log
yeah.
a decent amount of time in that and play online. But now it's just like, you know, when it comes out, it comes out. I got the thing for the beta. I played it for about 5 minutes, and then I haven't been
Could you imagine? Could you
on it.
imagine us in 2010, 2009, like picking up, getting a beta for Madden? Like, yeah, I would be so like
Oh yeah,
thrilled
oh
to
yeah.
have like a beta code for.
Or
I would
to
be
have the
like,
internet that could download the beta.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
I
this,
mean,
but but I don't know. It's just different times. I mean, I think it just comes with age. But it's definitely something that you think about, and reminisce on from time to time. That said, like I say all that, and then eventually, if I ever do, you step away or whatever, then you look back on it and you realize even right now, like pretty good times, have getting quite a bit of enjoyment
oh
from it.
yeah, you still get, like I said, it's about the only hobby that I have. I mean, like
Yeah,
I thought I was gonna go, and of course, then all the shit happened over the last year and a half. You know, politically throughout the world. Like I wanted to start shooting more. You can't afford to
yeah,
go shooting
yeah.
more. You know,
No,
like that's why it's the nice thing about Madden. Like yeah, I had to spend $500 on a PlayStation 5. I had to spend now fucking $70 a year on the damn game, and yet you're at $60 whatever for the annual PlayStation Network. But
yeah,
really, you don't. It's not like I never got an Ultimate Team. You don't have the
yeah.
microtransactions. You pay for the game. Your console is good for at least 4 years, and that's about it. You know, I don't buy a whole lot of other
Yeah.
video games. One catches my eye here and there that I'll play and beat the campaign of it, but it's one of the few hobbies I have. You know, you're not going out and about blowing a lot of money. You're not going out about endangering yourself or others, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's a bad hobby to have.
Yeah, for let's say the average person puts in the 400 hours a cycle, if you're
Sure,
not Dan, and you pay
if you're not
$65 for
Dan.
a game, that you're basically paying like $6 for an hour of Madden. Like what other hobby could you possibly get that much enjoyment out of, and and for $6 an hour, like and just from the comfort of your own home, and it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. So I don't know. I mean, I'm probably getting long winded here, but.
Yeah, I think people have already clicked off their
Yeah, no
watches.
one's
So I
watched
think
this.
it's
No
time
one's
to go
watched
ahead
this.
and wrap it up here. Outside of maybe Faz, I feel like my guy likes
Somebody,
to watch those. There's probably two or three guys.
Death Wish, Faz,
There's a few guys that
um,
are some real ones, but
Bomber's probably here. Dan's probably listened to it and heard me crap all over him, but that's nothing new.
Dan's been kind of quiet lately. I
Yeah,
haven't really
I
seen a
think
whole lot of Dan.
he's realized that
Dump
his
clapped his
trash talk
cheeks.
isn't. Yeah, his trash talking isn't
Mm-hmm.
his forte, and he should go back to being Mr. Modest.
You're a preacher. You're supposed to be modest.
That said, Dan's joining me on Total Access
Oof.
next this weekend. Him, Tiny, and myself.
All right
It's
then.
Dan figured if he can't beat him, join him.
For sure. I think we've talked enough. 38 minutes,
Yes.
almost 39. Check us out, cinmadleague.com, daddyleagues.com/SML. There's probably a couple spots in the primer. I think they were looking to shut her down, so for the cycle anyway. But check it out. And Meats wanted to take the credit for saying that the spinoff. Come on, Meats, get out of here with that. Anyway, like, subscribe, take. Brian, what the fuck are you doing? That's all kinds of noise. You just ruined the last
Sorry,
20 seconds of audio.
I was walking around. Sorry.
Like, subscribe, take care. Have a great day.